There are three basic steps in Tantric ritual, three processes. And within the context of an entire ritual, these processes get repeated in cycles over and over again, emphasizing through repetition the philosophical truth that is embodied in the ritual. As I mentioned, Swami Vivekananda called the ritual concretized philosophy. So let me give you an example of how philosophy gets concretized in ritual. The first step in Tantric ritual, which is what we're going to talk about today, is purification. Now that's a word that seems familiar. We all think we know what purification means, maybe. But what does it mean within a tantric philosophical context? It's probably somewhat different than what we imagine. The basic philosophy that underlies the process of purification is that the ultimate reality, the true self, the Atman, as it's called sometimes, is ever pure and perfect, and unchanging in that, can never be sullied or made less than as pure as it started out to be. So, if the true self, our nature, is pure, original purity, then what does purification mean? Well, we have to look at how our perception of ourselves as impure beings comes into being. Well, it comes from this identification of consciousness with the psychophysical organism, which is temporary, doesn't seem to be pure at all. It's full of all kinds of, if you really look at them, unpleasant things, and blood and phlegm and bone and other stuff. It doesn't look or smell good if you take the skin off. And mentally we're a mess oftentimes, kinds of angry or sad feelings and so on. None of it feels like the original purity that the philosophy says is there. So then the purification process is all about removing the misconception, the wrong ideas, by disidentifying with those temporary aspects of being and identifying with our original being. Now, the actual process of purification, I mean the physical procedure, isn't nearly as important, in my experience, as the idea behind the process. So, purification within a tantric ritual context starts with directing the attention toward the sun, which is a very purifying element of our experience. The sun is considered a symbol of the light of consciousness, and by directing our attention to the sun, that invites that purifying sunlight. And sunlight's purifying even in a biological sense. It's antibacterial and all that kind of stuff. But that's not the intent of the ritual. It is to remove misconceptions about impurity, restore original purity. So then there is water Water is used in religious rituals all over the world as a means of purification. And within the Tantric ritual context, water is seen as the embodiment of the holy rivers of India. And holy rivers of India are, the seven holy rivers, are themselves mythologically understood to be actual goddesses that incarnate on earth in the form of rivers. And so if you dip yourself in them or you sprinkle yourself with their waters, it immediately removes impurities. And again, the impurities are just the idea that you're impure. Those wrong notions of impurity get removed when you apply this holy water. Now, there is a very specific process with mantras and mudras for evoking the presence of the seven holy rivers of India within a vessel of water during the Tantric ritual. And then that water is sprinkled around the area where the ritual is done. It's sprinkled on the worshiper and all of the articles of worship. And again, the thought behind the sprinkling is that by sprinkling this, the notion that these things, these physical things, are anything but pure consciousness is removed. So by sprinkling it, you're reminding ourselves that the ultimate nature of all reality of ourselves and of everything that we can see or experience is actually pure consciousness, just manifesting as these things. So by sprinkling this holy water, we recreate the sense of our original purity and the original purity of the ritual space and of all of the items that will be used in ritual.